Already hopping into some weekend Shinonome for our missions. Cause 1 flooding. Tier 6, Tier 7 to 5 games, so top tier Tier 7 game. 4 DDs to work with, Monaghan, Nevny, Nicholas, Akatsuki. I'm always pretty unfamiliar with the detection ranges and all these mid-tier DDs because I don't play them too much. But I'm fairly certain I actually beat all of them. Akatsuki is definitely 6'4". Mahonigan should be the same as the carrier inbound, by the way. Mahonigan should be the same as the Fletcher. Nevny's definitely worse than me, Nicholas is definitely worse than me, and the Ryujo found me. So he's not gonna have space to actually clear me on this first pass. But now I have to decide if I want to take the HP tax or smoke, and I'm gonna go smoke. It might be a bit too late though, actually. He's armed, so let's see if he aimed properly. Nope. Alright, so I'm gonna spare myself the damage there. Also got some pawn shots taken at me because of the spotting. So the Shinonome, anyhow. Bit of a continuation on my earlier Japanese DD series, which I started with Yasashio, which is, I guess, kind of weird since Yasashio is a bit of an oddball Kagero variant. But anyhow, the Shinonome, for any very, very old school players, may be familiar to you as basically the hull configuration of the old Tier 8 Fubuki, which was interesting. The Fubuki has since been moved to Tier 6 and has lost one of her guns. She's gone into one of her late war configurations. Well, not the Fubuki herself. I don't believe the Fubuki actually lasted long enough into the war to get a late war modernization, but she's in a late war Fubuki class fit, where she traded one of her rare turrets for some more machine guns for AA essentially. But the Shinonome is an early war variant, which means we have essentially no AA. Like, we have 2 machine guns or something with 0.9 kilometers of range, which do some pathetic amount of damage. And that's all of our AA. But we still have the triple turret setup. So these are the Japanese turrets. They have a fairly long reload at 8.1 seconds, and that's with BFT. They have 9 seconds base, I believe. And a very short 9 kilometer base range. Something with this radar. Oh, it's the Indianapolis. So the Indy's radaring with his 10 kilometer radar. I'm going to turn away. Damage control and fire. By the time he fires again, we should be almost out of range. Yep. Anyhow, as I was saying, it's the 3x2 setup, 2 guns in the back, 1 in the front. The turret traverse is pretty sluggish. I'm taking expert marksman here in order to speed it up even. But we have the nice Japanese HE shells. So these do 2150 alpha. So these are the same shells as found in the Shimikaze, in the same gun setup with a bit of longer reload. I'm gonna open up here. My speed boost. So they hit pretty hard when I do hit. It's just they reload fairly slowly, so you get a high alpha, low DPM playstyle, but you get to chunk people for good amounts. You can do up to like upwards of 3000 damage with some proper play. Gonna have to sustain some HE fire here, but I do want to kill this Nicholas. He's ventured a bit too close to our lines. As long as I kite away and make things difficult, you saw there 3057 damage. Huge hit. So there, as long as I killed him, because of my short gun range, I'm able to disengage immediately because nothing's in range to see my gun bloom anymore because my gun bloom's extremely short. So sometimes short range is an advantage. So yeah, we have the 3x2 setup, 6 guns, high alpha. The AP's fine, but it barely does any more damage than the HE. You can see here the maximum damage is 2200 versus the 2150 of the HEs, so there's almost no incentive to use the AP unless you absolutely have to. Japanese DDHE is excellent. Also has a high fire chance, something in the 8 or 9%, I believe, which is extremely high for a DD shell. Now, she's a Japanese DD in terms of hull, so HP is low. This is with survivability expert. The base health is 6x350. 6x350 is 2100, so the base health would be, I think, 12,900, I believe. So fairly low. The speed's fine. I'm running speed flag, but without it, she does about 34, 35 knots, let's say. The AA I don't need to turn off because, as I mentioned earlier, it's 0.9 kilometer range, and my aerial spotting is 2.7. So Don't need to do too much of that. But anyway, she is a Japanese torpedo duty, and yet I have not used the torpedoes a single time yet. Where is that bloody Indianapolis? Stop radaring me. So torpedoes are similar to the Fubuki, a 3x3 setup. Ow. Need to move away from that Indianapolis. He's just radaring because he's dying, I guess. That's kind of annoying. I should have been more aware, though, that he was, in fact, potentially going to pop radar. Oh, fucking A. So, as I was saying, 3x3 setup, I need to smoke here. I just can't afford to be spotted. Might already be dead just because I was spotted. I'm gonna try and creep forward and extend the smoke so I have a little more room to dodge, because someone might attempt to blind fire me given how low I was. Creeping forward at a quarter speed. Anyway, for the third time, fuck's sake, I want to discuss the torpedoes. They're 3x3 setups, so 3 tubes of 3, and they have 8 kilometers base range. So this is a bit of a downgrade over the Fubuki's 10 kilometer range. So this is the trade-off you pay for having an extra gun. And they're the same torpedo as the Fubuki. Might actually be slightly worse. I think they're slightly worse actually. I think the Fubuki has something like 16,000 alpha. They have a 14,600 alpha. They do 63 knots, 8 kilometers of range as I mentioned, and they have a reload time of 73 seconds. So, pretty good reload, pretty good damage, very high speed. So it's a good torpedo, just a bit short on the range. But with 6.1 kilometers of detection, you can get fairly close. Gonna have to play fairly cautiously now. We're very low in health, and these New Mexicos seem to have HE loaded. So the Japanese torpedo, 8 kilometers of range, he's 7-8 now. I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but he is there. The reload's pretty good, and the 3 tubes let you do stuff like this. So I'm going to launch my first 2 torps using the indicator, and I'm going to use the staggered launch after 15 to 20 seconds, 20 in this case because he's American, to launch my 3rd tube. And so this is to try and play around with damage control. He does not appear to be using his rudder very much, so even though I'm just aiming along the gray line, these could well be some good hits. There's a Mahonigan behind him that I need to be careful of. Oh, never mind, there's no longer a Mahonigan. Torps look good. Looks like he's going to take at least 2. And you can see there the high damage, killing him from half health. And the DD beside me is trying to get me killed by becoming spotted. Oh, I need to be careful. My guns are turned this way. Skonevny definitely outguns me. But I have teammates here. Am I in spotting range? I think I'm... Okay, I'm in spotting range now, but I was checking the spotting range of that battleship actually. Because what I want to do is, like before, kill the Skonevny, and therefore remove the source of spotting. I need to survive 1 salvo. Hard break here. And good. So we kill him, nothing's in my gun range. Utilize that high alpha to go for the 1-shot. Oh, this game is very tame. I didn't even get to do anything. Just milling about in the middle because it's standard battle. But anyhow, the Shinonome is a great exemplar of the classic Japanese style that you get from Fubuki onward in the torpedo line. Good torpedo alpha, and good range on the torpedoes, powerful damage, good range, good speed, but they are kind of easy to spot. And then your guns don't reload very quickly, but they do a good amount of damage per actual salvo, so they have high alpha, so it's a bit of a hit and run strategy. Launch your torps for your big punch, and then when in between, use your superior detection compared to most lines duties. Sneak around and shoot at them when they're not ready to shoot back, or when the trade is advantageous for you. So I could torp this Koenig, but it's not really in a good position. Now I'm gonna shoot at him because firstly his guns are turned away, and secondly he doesn't appear to have allies. They're using the good fire chance, so mostly shatters onto the middle hull, but the fire is good. Looks like it's damage controlled, unfortunately, but it's fine. This means if the ranger sets any fires, they might be permanent fires, although I don't know if he waited long enough in terms of the damage control. Doesn't look like he set a fire or damage controlled, or sorry, or waited at the damage control, one of the two. Sinop, on the other hand, I can consider targeting. So again, I'm gonna smoke here because he could actually shoot me. The guns are pointed. I assumed they were pointed. I don't want to shoot at all. Okay, I might die here. Oof, did I get my tubes off? Nope. So yeah, there I needed to smoke, but he did manage to squeeze the trigger, and because I was so low, he did kill me. However, he didn't adjust his course or anything, so it looks like the frontal torps at least might skim him. Yeah, so he should have hard turned immediately when he saw me. He's gonna take a whole bunch of torpedo damage. You can see there, 4 tier 6 torpedoes nearly crippled him, dealing something, probably at least like 30 to 40k there. 16,000 alpha for torpedo, and then his torpedo reduction is not great. So at this point the game is elementary. It's kind of been sealed for a while now. I didn't actually have to play that forward, but it's fine. Kind of got unfortunate there that the Ryujo sent his rocket planes right over me as the Sinop was crossing, but it's fine. Trading my life here for essentially ensuring the Sinop kill in a quick fashion without him being able to kill anyone is pretty worth it. My DD will clean up the Ryujo. You can see there the Fubuki with his 16,000 alpha torpedoes slamming the Ryujo with just 2. So this is my cousin, I guess. He has the same 3x3 setup, but you'll notice here he's missing a gun. He's missing that rare gun over here, and it's been replaced by machine gun nests. So his detection is the same as mine, also 6-1. His turret traverse might be a little better. You can see here his turrets look a bit different. This is the mid-war modernization variant of the Japanese 127mm twin. I didn't zoom in on my turrets, but if we take a look back in port, you'll notice that they look different in shape. Same double smokestack, same speed of 34 knots or so, but he gets the 10km torpedoes with higher alpha. Whereas I believe the Shinonome gets a torp more similar to the Mutsuki torpedo. 8km maximum range, and a bit lower alpha. But yeah, the Shinonome and the Fubuki, both excellent torpedo boats. The Fubuki does suffer a bit in gun power. 2 guns that hit for 2150 each per shell are fine, but nothing to write home about. The extra gun on the Shinonome, despite having a slightly longer reload, helps a significant amount, unless you punch enemy DDs in the face for upwards of 3,000 if you know what you're doing. And yeah, looking at like even my own health pool, I'm not the tankiest DD at this tier, but 3,000 is still 20% of my health. And so hitting for 15 to 20% of another DD's health per salvo every 10 seconds or so is actually a big deal, especially if you combine that with the fact that you have good spotting, so you usually get the first salvo off. And then if you're spotting for teammates as well and they chunk them for another, say, like 3 to 4,000, then you can easily outtrade DDs if you know what you're doing. There you go, he's launching all 3 of his torpedoes. Launching 3 torpedoes versus 2 and then staggering a set. There's a bit of a trade-off. 3, you get a better saturation of an area. He's not going for area saturation, he's just going, probably aiming along the gray line. I prefer to do the staggered torp sets, because 6 torpedoes is generally more than enough to hit a target if you were going to hit them, basically if they straight line. And holding the 3rd set to hit them after damage control wears off, for example, or just in case of emergency, does tend to work out better. I'm not sure who he aimed for. These are for the Leon, they're kind of poorly aimed. He might hit 1 still though. But if these were for the Dallas, yeah, he got 1. Then, well, you can see how the high detection on the Japanese torpedoes means that it's fairly easy to dodge. sometimes the shorter range on the Shinonome with the 8 kms versus the Fubuki's 10 kms becomes an advantage because it forces you to launch closer. Of course, that does get you closer to your 6-1 detection range, but it also means there's slightly less reaction time. Because there's 2 kilometers less at least of distance, more or less. Here he's definitely in detection range, he should open up, but the game's gonna end. So nice clean game. Early game we started off by hiding from the carrier, as you are unfortunately forced to do in most DDs, if not all DDs in fact, because it's not the carrier itself that's gonna kill you. Like a usual rocket plane's only gonna hit me for 2,000 or 3,000 per pass. Nice stuff here. But it's his teammates that he's spotting you for that you need to hide from. And then we engage some DDs, but let's overview the game first. So first, 76,000 damage, 29 shell hits, 6 torpedo hits, 3 incaps, 2 ships destroyed, 4 fires, 4 floods, 1 squad ribbon. Team score wise, we're pretty close to the top, 1,300. This is kind of just what happens in low to mid tier games. If the game is too short, in this case you can see it's a pretty one-sided game. The base experiences aren't too high, but 1,300 is fairly reasonable, considering I mostly shot at battleships. So here we have the torpedo strike on, okay, let's go to the damage distribution actually. So 55,000 from torpedo alpha, unsurprising, 10,000 from guns, which is actually not bad at all, and then 9,000 from fires and floods. So here the Shinonome is showing up for good fire chance, and as you notice, yeah, the planes were passing over me early on and I did 59 damage. Nice. Truly, Japanese machine guns are something to be marveled at. The Nicholas suffered the wrath of our EG shells, 15 shells for 7,600 damage. And also that Nevny. I could have sworn we hit him much harder. But 2 shells for 1,200 is also nothing to scoff at. Some great damage here. But yeah, still a Japanese GD, so most of our damage is in fact from torpedoes. And if we quickly head over to port and take a look at our model, let me minimize everything. Thank you for the compliments. You'll see here we have a nice stubby turret, as this is the early war turret. The Type 2, I think? No, the Type 3. The 127x50 Type 3 turret. So this is the early war turret. It has a pretty horrendous turret reverse, but good damage. And if we move over to the Fubuki, which I don't currently own, but I can show you on the tech tree, she has the more modernized turrets. So you see here, much wider turret with a viewing window. And at the back, where the second turret would be for us, it's been removed and replaced by some 25mm machine gun nests. And if you check out her torpedo reloads in just 3 seconds longer. In exchange, it gets a 16,000 alpha. That's 2,000 more than ours. It only does 59 knots, so it's a bit slower compared to our 63, but it has 10 kilometers of range. So overall, this Fubuki gets a superior torpedo. We instead, I guess, are using, we're using its stock torpedo with 2 extra kilometers of range for some reason, but yeah. So yeah, there you have it. Shinonome, basically a souped up Fubuki that actually has guns. A souped up stock Fubuki. And yeah, she's a good boat. A great reward to that campaign that you get her from. So if you are a newer player and you're working towards a Shinonome, look forward to her. She's a good torp boat that sets you up for the rest of the Japanese line. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed.